So let's take another step back here. So what's the importance of data in times of disruption, right? So, I'm not, part of what we're going to talk about is, like pragmatic case-making things, right? That's the title of this thing. But also, it's a firm belief that data is incredibly important, right? So in times of crisis or times of disruption or times of budgetary challenges, it is a sort of operative fact that you need rapid, accurate, and trusted answers to the questions that are coming from your leadership, right? If they're going to make cuts, if they're going to make decisions, if resources are limited, you have to be able to make decisions based on as much accurate and trusted and quick to achieve information that you can. That since people are making decisions quickly, and maybe you're getting asked things that you've never been asked before, you need to have clear paths from question to answer. Where, like, how do you get to those trusted answers? And people, how do people present those answers? And you pull in the right subject matter experts to get it done. How are you able to quickly make decisions on new types of data, things that you've maybe, again, have never been asked about, but you need to be able to drive consensus on quickly, right? And so the example of this in higher ed is that people are being asked right now, whereas a lot of focus in the past was on enrollment and pipeline and all those kinds of things. Now they're being asked very specific operational questions around student engagement in online classes or uptime and things like that. We did a session on Wednesday, I don't know, with our clients where we talked about the current situation, and someone said that they're actually looking at and monitoring current student engagement in their online learning management system and classes, and they're heavily weighting engagement as they're defining it by the current students to determine both likelihood of enrollment in the next term. Because right now most schools are have so many open questions about whether or not they're going to be open, who's going to return, what's going to happen in the fall. And this is one of the bits of information that they were able to, that they're heavily weighting, both for identifying people who are at risk, people who aren't engaged at all, and then people who are likely to return because they're heavily engaged. And maybe they can schedule intervention because of that. And that's questions that they've never been asked before. And how are they rating that engagement? How are they doing that weighting? How are they doing, creating all that kind of stuff? They needed to come up with those definitions, that identifying those data sources, and produce those reports in a way that people could not only trust them, but make, limited resource actionable steps based on that information, and need to do that in a matter of days, right? And so that's an important thing around the use of data. And so having sort of, empowering the ability to make that rapid decision is important. Define roles for ownership of those decisions, ability to extend that to new participants. And then lastly, you're going to make dollars and cents decisions around things that impact real people. If you're offering refunds, if you're putting people on furlough, if you're cutting programs, if you're whatever they may be, those are sort of negative things, but also, if you're spending money on stuff, if you're investing in things, you're going to need to justify those. So having good, transparent data around that decision making is going to be super important, not only so that there's trust now, but also in the future if anyone comes and questions it. So we all agree, and you can come up with your own cases, that the data is incredibly important, okay? And particularly important in times of crisis, right? This is not the time to start making decisions that are not backed by data, right? So if we look at the priorities, again, that that EDUCAUSE said, that students and staff safety and health, student success, reducing spending, attaining enrollment targets, or online teaching excellence, good data informs all of these, right? Student success has always been something that people have driven data on, like how do you make sure that you're getting the right outcomes and measuring that and seeing at risk and all those types of things. Reducing spending is another important thing. So being able to again, see efficacy of programs and to better report on your financial data or your human resource data or other kind of data in ways that are useful. But also, as you'll hear, like good data governance practices can actually make you do things more efficiently if done right, and save money in general. Student staff safety and health. I had a customer who said that they are trying to change all of the ways that they report on capacity, room capacity and room assignments and all that kind of stuff, and classification of things from the way that it was before to now things to say, how do we, what rooms what's the number of people that you can support in this room if you're doing social distancing, right? And to be able to define those rules and qualifications are really important, right? And there are other things might come into that. Obviously, enrollment is something that people have been using data to drive forward. And I already mentioned the example about online teaching excellence. How do you do that? How do you monitor that engagement as new questions? So good data is essential. Talk about essential work, right? Is essential to all of these things. So making the case that not investing in the processes and the tools and the people to provide the accurate data is potentially going to just undermine the ability to get the value out of it.